I don't know what happened to me. I just broke down. Went into my room, locked myself, put the blinds down, and just cried straight away for 3 hours. Nobody's coming home. But then eventually got a point that, hey, till what time are you gonna cry? This is my brain playing games with me. I was like, till what time are you gonna cry? Let's just cry for another 1 hour and then we'll get back. Then eventually came a point I was like, what am I doing? Is it even worth it? I remember I called back my sister overseas and I was like, I don't want to do it. I don't feel like living in here. The work culture is fine, but where is my personal life? No friends to talk to, that I cannot make connections with them. She's like, okay, if you don't get fine now, it's time to pack your bags.
Dude, one of the biggest gifts of having someone love you or you love them is for you to be sad and for them to show you love.
Absolutely.
That's one of the hardest things that's like I've had to accept. Allowing them to show you love and to be there for you is also an act of love. Allow the people that love you to protect you, to support you. Because there is that feeling, right? That's like, oh, I don't want to burden my mom. But you're not, you know?
Yeah.
Like if they love you, like they want to show you love.
I remember like after all this happened, I flew back to India this February. I went up to the staircase and I hugged my mom. It actually felt like a missing piece of puzzle. I'm a whole jigsaw puzzle with one last piece missing. And she was that one last piece coming in together, remaining jigsaw puzzle and making it complete.
Dude, because everyone who comes here is like from Monash, Unimelb, and like Swinburne is quite a underrated like international student thing, if we can agree. And we were in, what's it called again?
Professional communication practice.
Professional communication practice, yeah. Like to be honest, let's be honest here, it wasn't that professional, was it?
No. It was not professional. It was not professional at all. Some people were just sitting there for the sake of it.
Yeah.
And so were we.
Bro, every time we went to class, I was just there like, why am I even fucking
randomly reading slides and just Googling any random stuff on Instagram or... Yeah, you can imagine.
Yeah. I think as typical as uni gets. But mom, if you're listening, like I was listening in class, right? I was listening in class.
You got an HD?
Yeah. I did get a high distinction, right?
Yeah, just
it was okay, dude. It was probably thanks to you. All right. So what happened in this class, right? We had to do like professional communication. I think the last project we had to do was like a presentation of us doing an event in school. Right?
Yeah.
Something along those lines. So we had to like present as if we're the ones promoting the event.
It's promoting the university's club precisely.
Yeah. Something like that. And then everybody was so dead in that class. And like it was like quite early in the morning as well. And then the final day came where we had to do our presentation, right? So this, I'm going to be honest, right? Because in general, right, the class was not a vibe to me. I didn't fully vibe with anyone, right? Including you, right? So at that time I was like, I don't give a fuck about this. And then this guy comes in the last presentation, right? Wearing a full ass fucking suit. This guy wore a suit where everyone was wearing like hoodies and everything. And I'm like, okay, like we'll see how the presentation goes. Presentation starts, yeah. Timer starts. Everybody was like falling asleep. Everybody was over there like. This guy starts like, good morning class. My name is Armaan and today I'm going to be presenting. And I'm just there like, I felt so pressured. I'm like, bro, I have to step it up as well. And then I was so dead that morning. I didn't even have coffee, no nothing. And then it was my turn. I'm there like, yeah, so over here we have this thing.
Infusing power in the dead.
Yeah, and I had to present it that way as well. But thank God you did. Because right after that, the lecturer was like, you guys did a very good job.
Yep.
Like you all like deserve like a high distinction. So, bro, like what was going through your head? Like why did you said this before we started this, but like why did you wear a suit before that?
I had a job interview, but the thing is like you're imagining, and since I'm wearing a suit, maybe I had a job interview at an office or somewhere like a desk type job. I had an interview at Coles. Yeah, and it was just like my first month coming from overseas.
Oh, it was your first year?
Yeah, it was my first month.
Oh, that makes more sense.
Yeah, it was my first one. So I was coming from a culture where if you got a job interview, then you're suiting up for that job interview. So I was like, okay, I got a job interview, irrespective of the place, where is it? I'm suiting up. And I had 3 presentations scheduled that day. So, yeah.
Yeah, bro. Did you at all, you guys have to know, like he wore like a full black suit and everyone was wearing casual in the class, right?
Most of them were wearing boxers because it was so hot that day.
Yeah, exactly. So like, what was going through your head? Like during the presentation, do you feel like shy? No, you definitely weren't shy at all. But like, what was going through your head when you went into class? Like everyone's just wearing normal clothes, and here I am.
Yeah,
in my suit.
I was just, like, everybody was actually about to fall asleep. They were just like sitting there looking randomly around class, and they were not actually interested. So I was like, okay, I would have to present, otherwise I'll just go and nobody would give a fuck about that hey what is going on. So I just went in there, and yeah, that's how like we were rehearsed to present back in overseas, that if you got a presentation you have to wear nice clothes, and yeah, you have to speak in a certain tone, and you have to present to the class. So I just try to do my best, and yeah, fingers crossed it ended up well.
Yeah, exactly. Thank God. Thank God for him I got the HD, because I hated that class.
No.
Thank God for that.
It took much more than that.
No, I mean, I did put my effort, but like the fact that you were there, like wearing that and like presenting that way, I was like, I had to up my game. So like, thank God.
Yeah, you clearly did.
Yeah. Ah, dude, you okay? For the audience, right? You're from India, and wait, most importantly, do you get a job in Coles?
No.
They were impressed with your suit there.
No, it was about like he was asking me about question, have you got an experience, and I was trying to relate to my overseas experience that hey, I have worked there, I've worked with my father's business. I was like, okay, not gonna help you sell grocery. I was like, okay, thank you.
They said that to you, like not gonna help you?
No, his face was saying that.
Okay. Oh shit. That's so true, dude.
You get the vibe, yeah.
I've applied for like probably more than 20 Coles position. Like none of them were interested. Even though I worked at a grocery store in Singapore, they didn't really care, to be honest. You're kind of weird like that.
Yeah, actually, the funny thing was that when he was asking me question, I was listening to him like that, because coming back from overseas, it was my first month here, so I had really a lot of problem understanding accent of the way they were speaking, the slangs they were using.
Yeah, 100%.
So I was listening to him like this, like as if like, kind of concentrating just on his voice and not on his face and facial expression. I was listening to him like this, that okay, I just want to focus on the words he's saying, not on his accent. Like, I know it's kind of a dumb thing to do, but I was just trying to understand him in one single go, so that I don't have to ask him the same question again. That's sorry, can you say that again? And then I was trying to listen to him then, and he thought that maybe I'm not attentive to him. He thought maybe I'm just trying to depict that, hey, whatever you want to say, just say it, I don't give a fuck. I was trying to depict him to the end that he was like, okay, mate, thanks talking to you, we'll get back to you by email. And I got the vibe that I lost it, and I did. So that was the main reason I didn't get the job.
Oh man, that sucks. That's definitely a problem that a lot of like us international students face. Even if we're like coming from Singapore, even though like English is our first language, bro, understanding Australians was a lot harder than I thought. With like, I think when it's just the typical Aussie accent's not that bad, but dude, there's some Aussie accents that are like super hard to understand.
They're so bogan.
Yeah, the bogan ones, bro. There was this one guy when I first came here the first day, he was bogan. I did not understand a single word out of his mouth. Like, it was genuinely that hard to understand.
Yeah, I think the funny thing is that you're not just speaking English. You have to get used to Australian English. That's the tricky part. You have to learn this. You have to learn their slangs, and you have to speak in a way that they don't have to ask again, and they don't go for a minute like, okay. Yeah, it's trying to understand and translate it in their own head and thinking that, okay, that is what he's saying. And that is what actually alienates you from other people like here. If they'll get in the very first go when you start speaking that, hey, maybe he's not somewhere around here. So that really hurts. Sometimes hurts now as well, but getting used to it.
It's okay, bro. Your feelings are valid on this podcast. Yeah, we've been through therapy on this podcast. Your feelings are valid.
Thanks, man. Much appreciated.
As the therapy people say, we're in a safe space. Okay, dude. We'll get to this whole problem again. But like, what I think the main question is, you're from India, right? What inspired you to come to Melbourne, to Swinburne, and what was that whole transition like?
So actually I never, like, some people have got this plan that, hey, they want to come from overseas for like, they have planned this for like ages, that when I'll grow up, I'll move to overseas to some country, and then I'll, set my life there. I never had any such plans. I just wanted to stay close to my parents. I've never been like any other college or university back in India, which has been, away and not in my hometown. So I've never been there. So all of a sudden, since we were getting back from COVID, so they had opened up a lot of scholarships, and kind of a lot of intakes were open. So I was thinking that, hey, if I ever want to kind of explore myself and really go out all in there and just make the most of the potential I have, I think when I'm young, when I'm 18 or 19, that is the best time to actually go. Because what I've seen with people generally, when they turn 25 or 26, they turn much more rigid towards their emotion, and they don't want to leave their family, or they don't want to start afresh. So like, maybe if I want to start something afresh, if I want to build something, maybe as early you start, it's better. So that's why I just moved in here. And Australia and more specifically Melbourne was my only specific option because my parents were a bit concerned that you're going out from home for the very first time and you got your cousin living here. He has been living here for more than 18 years, so he got a lot of experience of how life navigates here. So he said maybe he can give you a hand and you can, figure yourself out while you make up a life there.
Yeah, I guess the cousin definitely helped you, like in your parents being like, he's okay over there.
Yeah, it really. Sorry, I'm interrupting.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, sorry. You know what? Like, especially when you start living here for like 1 or even for 4 or 5 months, then when you go back home from your shift, from your university, or from where what have you been doing the whole day? When you go back home at night, you got someone there at home asking you how was your day. It's really invaluable. Like, you can do that over the phone as well. You can talk to your parents, but that person who is sitting there and he goes like, how was your day? What did you do? It really helps. Yeah.
Or you were living with your cousin at the time.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Because I was just gonna say, like, do you move here alone and like live alone or whatever?
No. I have been with him since I'm over in here. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank God. Because I came here also with my friend, and it just helps to have someone who's going through like, or who has went through the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
That really helped. What was like the most exciting thing for you? When you first like, all right, shit, like I'm in Australia right now.
The very first night I was in Australia, I was in Crown. The very same night. So yeah, a lot of excitement.
The first night. In case people don't know, explain to them what Crown is.
So Crown is basically the largest casino of Melbourne. Mm-hmm. So if you're coming to Melbourne and you have not gone to Crown, you missed it. So yeah, what happened that I remember my flight said, now landing at Melbourne, the temperature outside is 6 degrees Celsius and it's 0 and it's 5:36 a.m. in the morning. And I was like, okay. And around 9 or 10, we went to Crown. I was like, I asked him, like, what's the most happening place here? He said, you want to go to the most happening place? Yeah, let's go Crown.
Yeah. What was that experience like, bro? I mean, I'm Muslim. I don't gamble or anything. So like.
Yeah. No, we didn't gamble as well. We just we just went there and like had a nice dinner. Because I just wanted to feel the vibe. I was like, okay, now I'm in Melbourne. Like, because before moving in here, I just had seen Melbourne in movies or like overseas life, and so I was really fascinated that, okay, what is it actually like living in here?
Yeah.
So like, I don't want to gamble as well. Just take me to the most happening place here. So we went there, had a nice dinner, and like the most interesting part was like, I was like, why is it so far away? Because I remember we left home for around 9:30, and we reached there for like 10:30, 10:45. But I was in the habit of, like in my city back home, you can reach from point A to point B in less than 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I was like, why is it so far? And especially at night, I was like, oh my God. Yeah.
Right.
It was surreal. Yeah.
Especially, I don't know how cold it gets in your country, but like,
yeah,
how cold it gets during the winter times, and then how far it is. You're like, bro, I don't want to go out at night.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's a very weird feeling because even in Singapore, it's like, it's always hot. So going out at night is fine. But over here, it's like going out at night. It's like, I don't even want to.
Yeah,
and people don't really go out too much at night over here, to be honest.
They're better staying at their bed. Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say you've been here for how long now? A year plus?
2 years.
2 years? You basically almost the same as me.
Yeah.
Within the 2 years, man, like, other than fun, I feel like as international students, definitely there's like a lot of like problems that we go through. As you say, let's go back to that Coles thing, right? The accent thing. Do you feel like after now, to give people some context, like you're in Swinburne still doing law. What's the degree again?
It's Bachelor of Laws, and I'm in my third year now.
Bachelor of Laws. Okay, cool. And then now you are like, you did the internship with the law company, and then now you have a job with them and stuff. Let's talk on that accent thing, man. Like, is there any like stories in your head that's like, oh man, I really have to like learn this? Because it's the kind of problem where like people don't, I think most Australians, from what I've experienced, right, they're like, oh, you came here, that means you can speak English, that means we can have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But the accent is so strong, and then the way they speak is also so different sometimes, that like the culture difference, I think the main culture difference for me personally, I don't know about you, is when they compliment things and I don't take it well. Is they'll be like, okay, Hammy, can you do this? I'm like, oh, yeah, I already did. Beautiful, you did such a good job. And I'm there like,
yeah, you're a legend.
Yeah, you're a legend. I'm just there like, like I can't accept it,
Mhm.
and then they'll look at me like they'll judge me as well,
Mhm.
or like if I don't and for example, if they do something good and then I don't compliment them, because in Singapore we have this saying, right? Our compliments, you know what's our favorite compliment in Singapore? Oh, not bad. Not bad. Or this food is not bad. Oh, not bad, bro. That means it's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So dude, I wasn't able to like communicate in that sense, right? So when people say we aren't able to communicate, right? What I mean is like the way we speak and our cadence is so different that like sometimes you can't make friends. Like it's actually a thing, and especially in uni where everyone is like jaded and they're in their own head, right?
Mhm.
And like soulless in our professional communication class. Did you have like any moments where you're like, oh man, this is tough, like to make friends?
Initially it happened, like by God's grace it doesn't happen now, because now I'm like trying to have much more organic conversations. So initially when I started going to parties here, made a couple of connections, started going out with parties with them, then really was really nervous, like when you're sitting in a table around a table having drinks, people are laughing, enjoying and having conversations, and then kind of like the center of attention shifts to you. Then I used to get really, really nervous, because I was thinking that how can I answer them, because I won't tell them that, hey, I just moved in here from India, and then I got it's my first month in here, I don't really know anything. And then we're like, yeah, okay, now you'll do. Yeah, you don't expect that you can have a 1 hour or 2 hour long conversation, fruitful conversation from them. So initially I just spend most of my time here just listening. Like if I'm sitting there around a table, I'll just listen to what they're saying, like whether they're talking about footy or what's going on with their life, their parties they're going to, anything random. Just trying to connect the dot that, okay, what is it like talking here, like just making sense of that. I remember like of what used to hurt the most is that like if I start speaking in my mother tongue with my mates, like I'm just like that one guy who cracks a lot of jokes and loves to make people laugh. But what happened in here, the kind of humor like which people like in here, it's totally different.
Yeah.
Like so, I remember sometimes I used to like for example, if I've cracked a joke and I didn't land well, they'll be like, and it really hurted a lot. That nah, this
That
is
fake laugh.
that fake office laugh. You clearly spot that out. Nah, it's not genuine. Nah. So I had a lot of I don't remember those exact jokes, but I had a lot of instances like that. That hey, it's building up that you're laughing, and then you're trying to land a joke and it didn't land. It's people are like,
Yeah.
no, it really hurts. It doesn't happen now because like I have got some context to what conversation people want in here. But back then, I used to go home and I used to regret that the whole night. That what the fuck I've done.
When you go home and you're just spiraling in your own thoughts, like, did I just say that?
Yeah, I shouldn't have said that now, because like every time it used to happen, it used to take me back in my own shell where I didn't prefer talking much, and I'm not like that. I do like to talk a lot. Like as you were referring about the presentation, I do like to talk a lot. I love to speak with people, make new friends. But the thing is, if you have not got any context, if you don't know like what's life in here, how can you strike a conversation with them unless you're not in a professional setting? That's completely different. But if you just want to establish some sort of rapport, then how would you do that? That was really tricky. But now like eventually down the line I've made some of my great friends, and they're still with me.
Yeah. Is your friends like more, everyone's like closer to your race, or do you have like local friends now?
Actually I've got like Aussie friends as well, like of course from my own race. Now actually they're different, like because in law what happened, because in law when I used to go to networking events of my universities or the companies which used to conduct networking events, so I made a couple of good connections there. So it's like multicultural.
What's it like then, like the law over here? Not like the law, but like working in that environment, like the work environment compared to like the culture that you've grown up in India with.
Actually, I have not experienced, because I haven't studied law back there much, so I can't really understand how actually law works back in there.
Mm-hmm.
But here it's much more about a lot of correspondence just goes through emails. Now correspondence is just like I'm saying conversation basically. Now I've started using legalese, the legal jargons because of that. Now, but a lot of conversation just goes through emails. People are used to some sort of specific words which they will use in having conversation when giving legal advice. They are relying much more on clarity of expression, attention to detail, and every attribute you can find in the job description. When you're actually working in the UX, you can understand that why they want a person with those qualities. Yeah, it gets really hectic sometimes, the schedule, but yeah, I like doing that.
Yeah, but we were also talking like when you were, because the work culture difference, like coming from Asia, right? Like the fact that you were telling me the company was like, oh, you can do one day. You can do one day while you're doing your degree and all this kind of thing. Like, we appreciate you. Like the fact that Australia is like not most companies, but like I think just hearing the fact that they are accommodating to that and understanding like you can do your degree while doing this is such a breath of fresh air. Because like coming from Asia, it's like, oh dude, you can either work full-time, part-time hours, or you just don't work. And like, because we're in this generation where like, as much as degree matters to a certain extent, how are we going to get experience?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And like, I'm assuming now, at least, even if you don't get to this place at full-time, you'll be able to get like experience on your resume and then apply for the next full-time, right?
Yeah, that was my only goal since I came here, that I wanted to build an experience, like not having a job in a law firm, but I was still like making sure that I don't leave that legal touch with me, because it provided you a sense of belonging, that every day I'm waking up when I'm studying or I'm going to university, and when you're going towards your working space, whether irrespective of the fact it's paid or not, it's giving you a sense of belonging, that what I'm doing in my life is actually making sense. Yeah, and regarding that thing is that regarding the cultural difference which you talked about, yeah, they're much more accommodating as well. Yeah, I'll agree to that fact. And the thing is that what I have seen the people like in here is that the straightforwardness. What do you want? What are your expectations? What are your needs? Just communicate it straightforward. If you're trying to stitch stories, or you're trying to just kind of fabricate it with emotions that they'll understand your concern, most likely they won't. Like, but if you tell them in a straightforward manner that I want this particular thing, like I cannot come to the office because I've got to pick up pick up my son from the school. They're like, yeah, well understood. Yeah, you can work from home. That's fine. Or I cannot come to work because I don't feel like coming. I don't feel like me. Like I've seen some people using this phrase. I don't feel like coming because I don't feel myself. Like I don't feel like myself. I feel very tired, or I don't feel very energized. Can I just take a day off? And they'll be like, if the employer is fine, they're like, yeah, just take a day off. Yeah,
I think that's a little bit extreme, to be honest.
But I've seen that.
You've seen that, right? Yeah. Sorry about that. I think. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still a company. It's still work, right? But yeah, I've definitely seen like Australia being a lot more. I think it's the fact that they understand mental health more than Asian culture. Because,
of course.
There's a lot of moments at work. I don't want to say a lot, right? But I've had moments where I've broke down at work. And I've seen some people break down while at work. Because I think with retail, the job is like you handle so much of human emotion, and then you also have your own stresses in the back of your head. And then sometimes, like, for example, let's say someone passes away in your life or something, and then a breakup or something, and then while you're doing that, and then you break down at work, like it's very common from like what I've experienced. Like the managers will just be like, "Oh, just go home. Like you're fine. Like it's okay. You don't have to force yourself. Like this is not the end of the world." But if I was in Singapore, if I was in Singapore, it would have just been like, "What are you doing? Why are you going to the toilet? Why are you wasting your time?" You know what I mean? Like they don't understand that fact. Like you're breaking down. But I think in Australia, it's like, I think in Western cultures, this idea is definitely a lot more. The mental health side of things is definitely a lot more open, and it's one of the things that like I really appreciate with like Australian culture.
Regarding this, your mental health concern only. Yeah, I do agree with the fact. Yeah, they do pay a lot of. They give a lot of care about people's mental health, and yeah, because it's you're not just there physically. You're working with your mind. You're doing work there, and if you're not feeling right, then yeah, it's better to take some time off.
Yeah.
And I remember I had this instance here because I had this instance here. So I used to work at a pub. I was doing night shift there.
Oh yeah. you told me about this. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. I was working at this pub. I was doing a night shift there. So what happened that everything is going fine. The manager is doing his random closing procedure, and there's me and other staff member working there. So the structure of that pub was that there are all those pokies machine there. Like people are playing on the pokey machines. So and then there is a like at the end there is a smoking room. So it's at far end. Like you can see it standing from the cashier, but if you like you can't see it from the entrance. So it was something like that. So I'm positioned near the cashier. This is the this is the floor where all the machines are, and at the end there's a smoking room. So all of a sudden, we see a fight broke out. Like a fight broke out. We hear this. We could hear the sound of smashing of the tables and breaking of the glass. We could hear all those sounds, and we heard a girl shouting, "Police! Police! Police! Call the security! Call the security!" Something like that. She was shouting at the top of her, and then the security straight away said, call the police. And this was my very first time I called the police for any sort of incident like that. And I called them. They asked me bunch of questions. I'm so freaking out that I don't know anything can happen. Anybody could get hurt because that's a fight. A fight has broken out. So I remember they're fighting and they came out like it full lying in blood. Like glasses over their body lying in blood. One of them was limping, and then the police came in and started asking me question, and then they started asking manager a few questions, and the manager after all that thing got over, I remember I was the one. I took the broom and took the dustpan. I went to the smoking area and actually wiped all those broken glasses, and the blood stains were still there, fresh. So it was a traumatic scene. Like the tables are turned and you can see broken glass people, and you can literally see a pool of blood there. So it was like that. And after I cleaned that up and I started working like normal, and the manager's like, "You're fine?" I was like, "Yeah, what happened to me?" I was like, "You want some time off?" I was like, "Time off for what?" A fight happened. A fight happened. I like just for mental. I was like, "Sir, that's fine." Like I've seen worse. Just leave that. Yeah. So it was pretty interesting. Like because this is the very first time like I've seen a fire happening in here. And then the manager's like, "Hey, you want to go home?" I was like, "No." like I could have taken a paid leave for or work cover something for like it has affected my mental. But I was like, "Yeah, you're fighting. You'll be fine. Just get out."
Yeah. I got you. The thing is, I think for Asian, like we have, what's the word I'm looking for? I think we are able to take a lot of mental stresses compared to like, I don't even know how to phrase this, but I think my overall point with mental health is more like understanding that if someone is breaking down, or if you were actually traumatized from that incident, right, to understand like it's okay to take a break. But if you're genuinely okay and you feel fine, then go ahead, work. But I think the issue it's like just finding that right balance, right? I think in the culture here is a little bit too like, "Oh, it's okay, just go home." Like you can be a little bit more like, you can be a bit stronger than that, you know what I mean? But in Asian culture it's a bit the opposite. It's like, "Oh, you're that weak," do you know what I mean? And like just continue working, like why are you stopping?
I reckon that if we could phrase that in a much more precise way, it would be like that the bar of satisfying that you're actually affected or your mental health is affected is much more higher as compared to in here.
Yeah.
Like if you have to prove in there that my mental health is affected or I'm traumatized, you have to give them a lot of evidence, or you have to tell them a lot of traumatic stuff to prove that he's actually affected. For example, if a near and dear one in your family passes away, you don't need to prove them that I'm traumatized. It's obvious. Like if someone very close to you passes away, you don't need to prove to them that that's the reason I can't come to work. But if you're gonna tell them that I'm sad because my dog passed away, or like, okay, that's sad, but you want to come to work?
Yeah. It really depends. I think I just love the generation now where like we are talking about it. I think understanding it, because I recently rewatched this movie called Brothers. I don't know if you know that movie.
I've heard of them, yeah.
Tobey Maguire. It's basically he was in the army. He went for whatever that he had to go through, and he had to kill his private. He was the lieutenant or something, I think captain. He had to kill his private, and then he was saved. He was saved, and then he went back to his family.
Oh.
But the issue was counseling at that time wasn't really a big thing, and people didn't really know how to handle counseling. And that trauma sticks because like every time you try to just go back to your life, it's like you can't because you feel like you are an evil person. And then that's where when he went back home, right, he was treating his wife horribly. He didn't trust his wife. He didn't trust anyone because he felt like he doesn't deserve it. And that whole movie just showed, and I mean, it went to all the way to the extreme. Like he almost tried to kill himself, his brothers, and everything. But I think that whole movie was like why they brought it back on Netflix, in my opinion, at least. It's like showing that this is the extreme, right? Where if we don't talk about it or if we don't handle it, it's gonna be that trauma will be passed on to the people who who don't deserve it. Right.
Absolutely.
Like for example, if let's say if someone was traumatized from this your bar scene, right? Or let's say you were part of the fight there, and then you were traumatized afterwards, and you say you're fine, but you might be fine, but you might pass on that trauma, like that anger or whatever it is, to your manager in the future or to the future customers in the future. And I think that the best thing about Australia right now is like there's an understanding of, okay, you need time off. Like there's that understanding. I think Asian culture is slowly coming to that understanding, because I mean, I don't know about you, but like, you know, we have this common saying where like the way Asian parents say I love you is by cutting fruits up for you. Like that's actually a thing. Even in like, I thought that was like a Chinese thing, but then it's still part of my Malay culture as well. And like we don't say the words, even though like I think it's more of an issue when there's problems and you don't get to say the words. But thankfully for me, I don't know about your culture, maybe we'll get there, but for my culture, in like the Muslim culture, every time when Eid comes by, the culture is to ask for forgiveness. So there's always that, like every year we get to reset, like with my parents, like forgive me for all the wrongs I did this year. I wasn't perfect. I wasn't a perfect son. I wasn't a perfect dad. So that sort of like equalizes my culture a little bit. But tell me about your Indian culture. I don't know whether like you have that, like you aren't able to talk about mental health with your parents or whatever.
I reckon it pretty much depends upon how open your parents are talking about mental health as well. Like, of course, every parent loves their child, but the thing is that how they are enabling you to process that. So majorly I've seen they process it in either of these two ways. First, they'll be like, if you got some difficulty, if you're managing mental health issues, they'll be like, it will fade away with time. But that's what they're saying, that just keep on doing what you're doing and will eventually fade away with time. You don't need a time off.
It doesn't fade.
Yeah. The thing is, like, there was this one instance in here where I actually wanted to leave everything and just go back home. I was like, fuck this life. I don't want to live here. I actually was on the verge of paying my ticket back to home.
India?
And I was never coming back. It happened.
Let's go through that story. Like, what were you going through that was like so bad that you wanted to go back home?
Actually, what happened that due to the cultural shock thing which we were talking about before, that having a difficulty making friends and speaking the Australian English, not English as such, Australian English, and then eventually working full time while there were holidays and we're not going to university, and then kind of ditching out on my personal life as well. Like the mates I had lost connection with them because of working too much and just kind of being busy in my own life. And when all of this was happening while I was technically on a university break, so I'm meant to enjoy during that time. Especially when I'm just recently moved in here. I remember, like, even though I used to live with my cousin, I didn't see him for days sometimes, because I used to go at work and sometimes go and when I used to come in the morning, he had left for work. And then when eventually he had come back, it was his time to come in the evening, I had left for work. So it was like, we're living in the same house, but we're not technically living together. It was something like that. It was something like that, because we're not enjoying the same dinner at night, having some chit chat. It paused for a long while, and then when all of this got over, I was like, okay, now it's the time to take break. Now it's the time for a time off, which we are talking about. And then the semester started, where you have to study four subjects for 3 months, and you have to get good grades. You have to make assignments, and it's a lot of a whole new sort of academic pressure as well, because you're getting to new ways of getting education. This is a new way of getting, of learning the university life and learning the things in here, how they're done at the university. So the shift was so drastic that I couldn't figure out that what am I doing. I need some time off. I need to have some quality conversation. Where are they? You're asking me to study all over again. What is happening? And then I remember still I started to I was like, okay, we'll sort something out. I was making my assignments on my laptop, and I remember randomly just typing my assignment. I don't know what happened to me. I just broke down very badly. After that, I was making this assignment in my house dining room. I went into my room, locked myself, and put the blinds down. I just cried straight away for 3 hours. And every time I was getting questions that nobody's coming home, or my sister-in-law is not coming on and she's not listening to me. I was crying straight for 3 hours, but then eventually got a point that, hey, till what time are you gonna cry? I was like, what do you mean? Like, this is my brain playing games with me. I was like, till what time are you gonna cry? I was like, why so? You got an assignment to make, so let's just cry for another 1 hour and then we'll get back. Actually, I hope you're able to understand that even to vent out your emotions, you have to put a time limit on that as well. Because you can, although they're worrying about the mental health, but still they'll be like, hey, if you needed a time off, you have to go through special consideration. Sorry, just the fact that you're missing your parents, it's not enough to give an extension. Okay. So this happened, and then it used to happen in a parabola that, okay, I'm crying, then I was fine for a few weeks, then it happened again, and then I was fine for a few weeks, and then eventually came a point I was like, what am I doing? Like, is it even worth it? So I remember I called back my sister overseas, and I was like, I don't want to do it. I don't feel like living in here. It's bullshit, or whatever I have heard about here is crap. Basically, the everything like the work culture is fine, but where is my personal life? I was like, got no friends to talk to, and I'm doing all sorts of activities at uni, and I'm trying to meet as many new people as I can. But I said I cannot make connections with them. I'm not enjoying. I was like, what am I doing? I just want to come back home. And then she was also like, okay, if you do not get fined now, because she was also seeing what I'm doing every now and then. She's like, okay, if you don't get fined now, it's time to pack your bags. So but then I don't know what I don't know. After that also, I don't know what came to me. What happened to me? I was like, do you want to return back as a failure? Like, not as a failure technically, what we label it back in the Asian culture, that if you got back from overseas due to these reasons, you're technically a failure. Do you want to be called a failure? Not because that other people would call you that, you came back because you were experiencing mental health issues, you're not feeling yourself back in here. I was like, but you still want to give one more try? Just, kind of restructure and reorganize yourself from scratch. Just forget everything, how you used to be, how you used to like things to be. Just forget everything and get used to a new culture. You want to rebuild yourself again? I asked myself this question, thought for this for quite a while. I was like, let's give it one more try. And I said, I don't know what can happen in future, but I still want to make the most of my experience here. That was the perspective I carried when I came in, when I first landed in here. And and hopefully it helped, and I ended up getting a distinction BAM in that semester. So So
Dude, you brought a very good point, because your brain, I've been studying a little bit on psychology a little bit these days. Your brain is actually working perfectly when you said, how long are you going to do this? How long are you going to cry? And that's the one thing that I've learned with Asian culture, is that, actually in every, it's human, right? When we see a quote unquote negative emotion, be it sadness or anger, we always tell people to stop it. But rather, if someone passes away, or if you're feeling sad because you don't have connections or whatever, the human thing to do is to express the emotion. And you have to express that emotion for you to be like, okay, now it's out, and then now I have clarity in your head, and then now what? And I think it's especially for our situation, it's like, the problem isn't, it's not something that's like, it needs to be solved. It's like, you just have to continue. It's just, now you're sad, now you're feeling lonely, all these things, and it's okay to go through the motions, and then after that continue to work. So it's sort of like, I think deep inside, you know, you didn't want to stop.
Yeah.
Right? Deep inside, you know that. And if you call your parents, they'll be like, just come home, especially your mom. Oh, especially if you call your mom.
Like recording that instance, so the exact scenario was like, my laptop is in my lap. I'm typing the assignment of whatever I was typing. I didn't know. I think I was typing the same sentence again and again and backspacing it because like my brain was not functioning properly. I was typing it, and then on the bed other side, there's my mom on speaker. I'm crying. It's like tears are rolling down my eyes, and she's on speaker, and I'm like, "Hey, you fine?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sad, but I'm gonna be fine." Like I'm then wiping my tears because my eyes are getting cloudy and I cannot see the screen. I'm like, I'm typing, and then she's like, "You're fine." Yeah, mom, I'm gonna be fine. Yeah, it's temporary. It's gonna be fine. Like as I said, as they say it in there, it's gonna fade away with time, but it doesn't.
I've definitely been learning a lot about this, like whether I should break down or not. And I think as guys, we always have this like, oh, let's just stay masculine and not go through the emotions or whatever. And I've realized, I think we address the masculine side first, yeah. The idea of good masculinity, stoicism, is actually what I've learned is like going through every emotion that you feel, but not necessarily in front of everyone. But behind closed doors, do what you want. You have to cry. You want to do it? Like, go ahead. But then once that is done, then you're supposed to do your duty as a man. That's what, to me, I've understood what masculinity is.
Exactly.
Like, especially if I have a kid down the line, like maybe once in a while I should show him or her I'm crying just to show like I have emotions to my kid. But it's the idea of like, I am going to cry, I am sad, I'm feeling all these emotions, but what's my duty? Like, I came here for a reason, right? Like, I came here because I wanted to pass my degree. Like, I'm not going to give up my fucking dream. And everything starts... As cringy and cliche as it sounds, a lot of people who are not, I don't even want to say not successful. I want to say the people who don't achieve what they want. The people who don't achieve what they want, the main difference with the people who achieve what they want is just the mindset. It just literally starts with the mindset. So the main difference, for example, like a lot of people, especially with the gym thing, people always ask me like, bro, what's your workout? What's your workout? What's your workout? Like, what's your diet? What's your diet? And I just tell them, stop asking me these questions and just go to the gym. Like, go to the gym. Because if you understood how my brain works, you would not be asking me these questions. Because
you're speaking exactly in that man's tone.
Correct.
Go to the gym.
Correct. Because my brain, right? My brain is like, if I wait, the second I wake up, right? And if I don't go to the gym, I'll be like, are you a fucking idiot? Are you not going to go to the gym? Like, you have free time. Are you not going to go to the gym? Are you really that guy? Are you going to be that guy? You know what I mean? And it goes the same with school as well. It's like, we'll cry, we'll be lonely. But after like 1-2 hours, you're like, are you going to continue being like this? Are you going to continue?
You got to wipe your tears yourself.
Exactly. But it's very addictive, right? Like, to be sad, like to get the attention as well. Like, it's very, very addictive. As someone who's been there as well, like, recently, because I went through like a proper full breakup and I'm living sort of alone over here, bro, the loneliness was like, I've never felt loneliness until I came here, and I was like, whoa, this is a new emotion I've never felt before. And it was one of those where like I broke down and I called my parents, and my mom instantly just went like, just come home, please, come home now, come home. But logically in my brain I was like, no, don't tell me to come home. Just be there. Just let me cry. And we still have things to do. Because I still have things like, it sucks, but I have goals that I want to achieve. And I'm sure 1000% in the back of your mind, you're like, we have things to
as
do.
much as I can relate to that, as you're saying that we got to stick to our goals. I was still typing while I was crying, although I was typing the same sentence again and again.
But it doesn't work.
But I was like, okay, now I'm fine, backspace. Now I'm fine, backspace. One time I actually ended up typing, Mom, I'm fine. I'm typing a bloody case analysis, and I'm like, so this was referred into XYZ case versus ABC case. Mom, I'm fine. Yeah. But hopefully, I could see. I'm really grateful for that. That I didn't back out. I didn't fly back, and it's helping now. Yeah, things are getting better.
It's something that I've definitely learned. I think we can share this with everyone, is that when you're feeling these emotions, I think we can also start to communicate with our parents or whoever it is, like, look, I need to share these emotions, but I don't want to go back. And then you share that emotion. Because, dude, one of the biggest gift of having someone love you or you love them, right? It's not just you want to show your mom that you can do it, and you want to make her feel proud of you, right? But one of the most loving thing you can do for your mom or dad as well is for you to be sad and for them to show you love.
Absolutely.
That's one of the hardest things that's like I've had to accept. But obviously it's in balance, right? Like if I'm gonna be sad every week, like once a week, and crying to my mom, obviously she's gonna be like, come home. But it's that idea of like maybe after a month you've been holding it, and the only person you want to talk to is your mom, your cousin, whoever. Allowing them to show you love and to be there for you is also an act of love. So I think a lot of international students, usually when they first come here, they feel it instantly. And I think the thing that I've learned after 3 years of mental health, after breaking down over here, yeah, allow the people that love you to protect you, to support you. Because there is that feeling, right? That's like, oh, I don't want to burden my mom. But you're not, you know?
Yeah.
Like if they love you, like they want to show you love.
Yeah, I remember, I can relate it to that very well. I remember like after all this happened, like all this parable of emotions was happening, and I flew back to India this February, and I remember like my house is like on the second story, like like there is a 3-story house and my house is on the top story. So I went up to the staircase, and when I hugged my mom, it actually felt like a missing piece of puzzle getting back into the whole. It actually I'm not making this up. I've not heard this in a movie. It actually felt like that. I'm a whole like jigsaw puzzle with one last piece missing, and she was that. And when she hugged me, it was like one last piece coming in together with the remaining jigsaw puzzle and making it complete.
Yeah.
It was like that, and I was like, I needed that for like ages. And then I remember there was no one around us, and then we had the most beautiful conversation we had since like years of. She asked me, how are you, how we've been doing after that breakdown. Yeah, I can completely relate to that. Just being there and then listening to her, and like she making sure that anytime you need me, I'm there. It's invaluable, and we should be grateful we have that kind of people in life, although they're overseas. Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing, right? Because if you weren't here and if you didn't break down, you wouldn't have this side of your mom.
It is a completely different, because I was a really mischievous kid when I was a child. In my childhood, I was really mischievous. I remember I'm used to getting slapped by my mom, and I've got slapped once by my dad, and that's the reason I'm so scared by my dad, because that slap, it was not a slap, it was actually I got knocked out. Yeah, it was really hard. Yeah, so yeah, I because I was doing all kinds of mischiefs and things I shouldn't be doing. I was all right at studies, but the thing is that the other side, I'm always picking up fight with kids in my neighborhood, and yeah, doing all sort of mischiefs and everything. And then she used to get angry at me that either you're not going to make any good friends, or you're going to struggle socially.
Yeah.
And then seeing that same side of my mom who has scolded me a lot, shifting that completely to like crying for me, and she's saying to me, come back home, we'll look after you, that's fine. If you didn't get well in Australia, that's fine. Like two different sides. I was like, whoa, I didn't know that. I know you were emotional because you're my mom, but that too much?
Yeah. I think that's the most beautiful thing that I've kept repeating on this podcast with international families like this is because you go through so much tough moments, knowing that you have a loving family or mom or dad, brother, sister, and to allow them to love you while you're breaking down is such a blessing, because I've never had the relationship I've had with my family because of this whole experience. And maybe we can end that on a good note, because it's especially for, I'm gonna repeat that quote, or that phrase, sorry, allow the people that love you to love you.
Of course.
Because it's good that you allowed your mom to do that, because I know so many people out there who instead turn to drugs, turn to alcohol. I think alcohol is the number one that people turn to. Alcohol, toxic relationships, wrong friendships,
or using social media a lot.
Or using social media, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
using social media a lot, because we're trying to numb ourselves from these feelings, right? But I've realized like the solution is there. You just don't want to burden someone,
Yeah,
but you're not
exactly.
burdening them.
No,
right?
no.
allow them to love you, and that's one of the best things that you can really open
just
yourself up
building
to.
on that that point of yours. Even when I'm enjoying in here, like I'm having kind of like making memories. I've been to a party, or like it's basically, it's nothing like if you see it from a superficial point of view. You're like, nah, he's enjoying. He should be all right. He's not getting homesick. Still, so many times I feel that my parents are like kind of within me. They're with me. They're not like tangibly, but still they're with me. Like every time I'm walking down a street alone, I can feel them psychologically back in my head. They're not there with me. They are with me. If, for example, if I'm about on the verge that, for example, there was this one instance where my mate was about to introduce me to something. I won't name what that something was.
Okay.
He was about to introduce me to something.
Okay.
He's like, hey, you want to try it? And I was like, that instantly got, like, I had my mom's voice in my hand. And she's like, you want to try it? And I'm like, no. And I was like, that's fine now. Yeah, so, yeah, having them psychologically back in your head, you still feel like they're not with you, but still every time you feel they're with you. Like, having them somewhere in your body, like around your heart or maybe in your mind, yeah, I still feel they are with me. They have never left me.
Yeah, man. Yeah, my heart goes out to anyone out there who doesn't have that person, or I mean, we're blessed to have good family. Not everyone has good family. So, other than that, I would say therapy is. There's a lot of therapy out there in Australia. I even went to Swinburne therapy, really, really cheap, $20 per hour. Yeah, 25, really cheap. So to anyone out there, especially international students, if you guys have like any issues, there's a lot of therapy out there in Australia. Also, allow the people that love you to love you, especially call your parents.
Yeah, I'll just say, just give yourself time. Don't pressurize too much. You got to build and carve a unique journey for yourself. And that is going to take time. That is going to take effort. That is going to take way too much of emotions, both positive and negative equally. So, and never keep yourself, in a judgment zone where you think you're being judged by someone. If you, for example, if you don't land a job interview, or for example, you didn't do well at a presentation or something like that, don't feel like, oh, I messed it up, I'm a failure. Don't always put yourself in that yes or no, or a failure or a successful person test. Just give yourself time. That's why you don't need to prove anyone that you are successful or you're failure. You just gotta prove yourself. If with every passage of time you think you're not improving or you think you're stagnated, that's when you're actually failing. So yeah, go through a way lot of emotion. And of course, other thing is that do enjoy, make memories. Because struggles would come, emotions would come, but memories would take their fair share as well.
I love that.
Yep.
Failure is not failure, stagnation is failure.
Stagnation. If you are stuck somewhere and you don't know how to figure out yourself out from that, then that's what you can call technically a failure.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching this episode. We'll see you next week.